welcome back to our cooking show. We are celebrating May, Cinco de Mayo, and my guest today is Anais.
Hello, my name is Anais and I'm the program manager here at Local Matters. And I'm excited to cook our meal kit of the month, which will be black beans and rice.
Yes. And what is this? You just told me off camera, this is full of protein.
Yes, that's right. So something that I actually learned while participating in one of our cooking classes here at Local Matters is that beans, one, are a source of protein, a plant-based protein, but when paired with a whole grain, actually makes a complete protein that you would get out of a meat-based protein like beef, chicken, pork, or whatnot. So actually, what we have is something that's fully packed with all the nutrients that you need to meet your, what we like to use here, the My Plate, which has all the food groups needed to create a balanced diet or meal.
And we also have the rainbow.
That's right.
So we're gonna start off by cutting our onion. Everybody cuts an onion different. I'm gonna show you my way. You cut the bottom off first, then you cut the top. So you have a nice playing field there that's flat. Excess, cut it down. Hold that side. Peel off that outer layer. Get rid of those shavings. I go down cutting in thin little slices so I have the same shape all the way. And then I cut across. So you come out with this fine little dice. Voila.
Beautiful. And no tears.
No tears.
And we get asked a lot of our classes, and I think it's probably the number one question we get is how to avoid tears when cutting onions. And there's really no easy way around it other than to do it as quickly as you can and also as safely as you can, because obviously you don't want to cut a finger off. But also another tip would to be having a fan or maybe your hood ventilator going to kind of take away the onion aroma, because that's what's going to be causing those tears. But if you're doing a chop like Miss Corey did right now, it's going to be very quick and hopefully tear-free.
Another tip is to wash your onion with water, or if you're going to cut multi-onions, you put them in the freezer for less than a minute, and that will keep the juices from splurting up to your face. Okay, now we're going to add our onion and garlic in here. Hey, Ani, tell us about some of the classes that you have going on in the community kitchen this summer.
Yeah, so coming up this month, we will be having a class that is all about cauliflower. It's something that I feel a lot of people may or may not know how to cook with, and it's a very, I would say, flavor-absorbing food. And so we're going to be learning how to cook cauliflower 3 types of ways, and we'll also be featuring a class on how to bake, which is something that we don't do often here at Local Matters, but it's a fun thing to learn. And going forward, for the entire year, we're going to be having 2 classes that we teach here at our education center. One, which is a series that focuses on culinary skills, and one that's just a fun hands-on cooking class. And you can find all those classes on our calendar on our website, or stay tuned on our Facebook pages or any social media just to keep updated. And I know we also have a newsletter that has lots of good information about not just the classes that we hold, but all sorts of events that we're involved with. So I would highly recommend subscribing to that because you learn about all sorts of cool things there.
Awesome. All these veggies, the protein, even down to the oil, you can purchase at our Veggie Van. We'll be having some upcoming new stock, so look for that for summer. Look for some of our fresh food that's going to be coming from our local urban farmers. That is going to be a nice little summer, so look forward to that.
We're going to be busy this summer, so
busy.
Stay tuned for our updated summer Veggie Van schedule, but I know we will be at least 4 different sites, and you can also order for pickup or delivery through our app or on our website with the Veggie Van. And we now do free delivery within 270. So if you're interested and you're like, I don't have the time to stop by the office or even just visit the grocery store, it's an amazing way to get produce delivered to your doorstep and also support your local community. And we also have lots of incentives and rewards points where you can get essentially money back to your account to purchase more fresh produce with us. And we also have dry staples like sugar, flour, rice, grits,
quinoa. We have
and canned goods.
yeah, and lentils, everything. So
All sorts of stuff. So stay tuned with us.
yes, back to black beans and rice. You want to get the onions and the garlic nice firms going around, and you want to make sure that you got it all nice toasty looking. And then we're going to add our black beans. Now at this point, if you wanted to add chorizo, or you wanted to add sausage, any kind of meat, you could add that right with your onions and garlic. That's where you would do it. But since we are doing a vegetarian version, we are just gonna put straight in our beans. So we're gonna let those beans and the garlic kind of get some flavor in there.
You can really smell the garlic and the onion. It's amazing.
We're gonna cut up a green pepper and then a jalapeno. Annalise is gonna do that.
So I actually learned this tip here at Local Matters while attending another one of our cooking classes. What Chef Corey did mention is we always like to teach the pinch and wrap method. Pinch and wrap. So you're using your index and thumb finger to hold the blade at the base, and then you wrap your fingers around the handle, and this will offer more stability when you're cutting. And a lot of people, myself included, usually will put their finger here, but if you're chopping a lot of fruits and vegetables, or even if you have like wrist issues, this will, after a while of cutting, put more strain on your hand and your wrist and those tendons. So we like to teach this method because it's good for everybody. So with our bell pepper, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my claw so I don't touch my fingertips and accidentally cut them off. And I'm going to just cut right down so that I can see all the seeds and the pith inside this pepper. And I'm going to cut the very bottom of it as well so that I can see through. And now that I've done that, I'm going to cut a slit, and I should be able to unwrap. Oops, let me cut a little bit for the longer slit. Should be able to unravel this bell pepper. And so inside, you can just take out the pith with the seeds, maybe use them to start a garden. It's up to you. And I will make this our designated compost plot right now. And what this cut is really good for is for actually being able to utilize more of the bell pepper than if you were just to, say, cut the top off, because I'll show you in just a second, we'll be able to utilize more of the top and the bottom of the bell pepper with this cutting tool.
To the black bean, a veggie stock, low sodium, and a half a cup of water, which will be into your meal kit. So Ani's cutting jalapeno. You want the jalapeno to be spicy, keep the seeds. If you don't want it to be spicy, eliminate the seeds as much as possible. And then that creates like a mild spice, depending on where you're getting your jalapenos from this season.
I've also heard that the pith can hold some of the spice, but
yes.
So just like the bell pepper, I'm cutting them into dice shapes, and I'll show you here. So this is the pith. This is the part that holds on to the seeds and clings to the inside edge of the peppers and our seeds as well. So I'm gonna discard most of that, but I'm gonna keep some of the seeds because I want a little flavor. And I'm just gonna add this into our pot.
Nice.
And if you're at home and you're like, I have some dried peppers or other peppers, it is a perfect time to roast them and add them into the pot too, because it would add a nice smoky flavor. When I'm cooking personally, I like my beans to be extra garlicky, but I also like a smoky flavor too. And today we'll be using some cumin, some salt and pepper, but I also really like to add some smoked paprika to it to give it a nice, rich, bold flavor. But do whatever you think.
Yep. And two, on that note, being that it's going to be summer soon, you can put fresh corn in this, and fresh corn will be that crunchy flavor. And then the next day, like say you finish with your black bean and you're like, I don't want to make any more rice, you can turn this into a cold dip by just putting it on some tortillas, putting it on some chips, some crackers, whatever you would like. So that it's very versatile with this.
We like to say all of our recipes, or any recipe really, is just a framework, a way to guide you in how to prepare that dish. But if you ever see something in a recipe and you're like, you know, I don't personally like, say, black beans, but I love pinto or red kidney beans, feel free to substitute that in and it'll be perfectly fine. With any recipe, feel free to adjust it as your dietary needs need to, or your personal taste preferences are.
So I'm just going to show you a little trick about rice, because we are cooking rice in a rice cooker right now. But there's also, if you cook it in a pot, there's a little trick that I use still. My grandmother showed me a long time ago. And I also, when cooking in school, I learned, oh shoot, this is another way to do it. You can do this trick for rice cookers and pots.
So one way, like Miss Corey was saying earlier, to figure out how much water you need for your rice, no matter whether it's 1 cup of rice you're cooking, 5 cups of rice, whatever the amount is. One trick that I was taught growing up in a rice eating household is that after you've washed your rice, and I highly suggest that you rinse it at least once, maybe 2 or 3 times until the water is no longer murky, I'm gonna pour in water into my rice. And how I'm going to measure if our rice, or if our water amount is enough, is I'm going to take my index finger and I am going to measure the water until it reaches the first crease, or that first finger knuckle. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to stick my finger and making sure that the rice is level in the bowl that I'm cooking in, or in the pot. And I'm going to stick my finger and just touch the top of the rice. And so as you can see, when I touch my finger down to the rice, it's hitting just about that first line or crease in my finger. And this should be just enough water to make sure that our rice is, one, fully cooked, not oversaturated with water, but also not too dry. And it might vary depending on what type of rice you're using. Today we're using some short grain brown rice, but also check the packaging to see if the type of rice you're using might have different requirements for how much water is needed. But just a general easy trick if you don't have a measuring cup to use at the time.
I'm going to show you what else you can do with the other half of your onion. So in your meal kit, you will be getting 3 tomatoes. The reason for that is, not some people like more tomatoes than they do in their stuff than others. I personally like to take the other half, so I'm using all the food that I'm working with that day. So I am going to make salsa for the topping of our black beans and rice. So I'm going to take the other half of that onion and I'm going to slice it again. Don't do this at home, kids. I'm a professional. So I'm gonna put the onions, the last of the onions in there. I'm going to put the rest of our tomatoes. So I am going to take some cumin, just a little bit. And I am going to take a couple leaves of our cilantro. Now I'm not gonna chop the cilantro. Actually, you get more flavor if you just give it like a nice chiffonade or a tight little, it tastes better. When you smush it up and you cut it too much, you get too much of, it's the flavor, but it's not the real flavor. You kind of just want to open it and release when it comes to herbs. So we're gonna save that. I'm gonna hit it with a little lime. So when we're finished, we're gonna put that on top of our black beans and rice.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe what we'll be putting in our cilantro lime rice is cilantro and lime. And maybe an extra dash of salt in there, just to taste, bring up the freshness of that. But I personally am a huge lover of fresh herbs. And so whether that's salsa, beans, rice, I always put a little more, well, 1, a little more garlic, and 2, a little more fresh herbs like cilantro, because it does just have so much flavor. And for anyone that has that genetic difference where cilantro tastes like soap, I deeply apologize. nice too because it is so fragrant and absolutely yummy.
And to me, it's the best smell ever. So we're gonna take our cilantro rice. I'm going to add some cilantro and a little bit of garlic. It's on here. And then I'm gonna put some salt in my cilantro rice. And you want to give that a stir. I'm gonna check on these black beans.
An ingredient that my grandmother, who's from Mexico, always used too. She liked her beans to be a little more creamy, and she would always throw in either a dollop of sour cream at the very end when you were just about to serve it, and just mix it in, and that would bring a nice creamy texture and flavor to the beans as well.
You can see that nice rich color.
Since we have some cilantro right here.
Yeah, top that off with some cilantro. Whoops. We're gonna mix up our little salsa here.
That smells amazing.
You wanna try?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
No, very good. 10 out of 10.
So come on, start cooking with us. See our next meal kit for June, and that will be Brian and his mom. So come on, eat with us.
Absolutely. Thanks for watching.
It's going to be a good cooking class just because Ani's here has nothing to do with Corey. She's just going to do the introduction and step out of the way so we know that we're going to have a good class.
I don't know about that. I think I might need some Corey's help.
I don't. She could just turn on the fire and turn off the fire. That's it.